So this afternoon, I want to say you are welcome to this afternoon session. And can you all see my screen? This afternoon, we are going to Michael. That's a mistake. What's happening? Share entire screen. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. So this afternoon, we are going into getting to use Microsoft Fabric as a Power BI user. And then, okay, my name is Akiwumi Esther Toluanimi, and I will be your moderator this afternoon. And I would also like to add to that I've been someone that I enjoy. I said this the other time, but I'm saying it again for those that are just joining us. That I've been someone that I enjoyed from analytics extra since last year. All right, without wasting much of our time, we are looking into breaking data silos, Microsoft Fabric for Power BI users. And our trainer for today is no other person than Adewale Yusuf. He is a Microsoft Data Platform MVP and a senior consultant at Avenue Dublin, Ireland. All right, our ground rules still remain the same. Punctuality is of topmost priority, and do have an open mind to learn. We need to have one class, we need to respect each other, and we need everyone to participate. So once the floor is given to you, you can always, add what you have to say when you are allowed to. And please make sure your mic is always muted, and you can always raise your hand when you have questions or contributions. So like I said before, Mr. Adewale is a senior analytics consultant at Avenue Dublin, Ireland, and is lead trainer at the Knowledge Academy, London, UK. He is a 4-time Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in Data Platform, Microsoft Certified Software Associate. He's a Microsoft Certified Analytics Engineer. He has 7+ business intelligence experience, and is a corporate trainer with deep understanding of various adult learning methodologies, training methodologies, and instructional design. He has trained over 5,000 participants, including senior management on data analytics, business intelligence, big data, artificial intelligence, Power Platform, Microsoft Fabric, SQL, Microsoft Power BI, Microsoft Office tools. He has built robust analytics system solutions for clients. He is convener and lead Nigeria Power Platform User Group. He's founder of Analytic Extra Mentorship. All right. I would leave the floor to Mr. Adewale now. Mr. Adewale, I have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Please confirm if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can. We can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay, great. So I just want to be sure you guys can hear me clearly, because I'm in a place where the network is extremely bad, but let's just hope that it doesn't disrupt our class before we finish. Hello, everyone. I will not be sharing my video today because of my network issues, but I'm sure that you should be able to hear me and then see my slide as well, because I'm sharing it right now. So let me know if you can see my slide right now. Just type in the comment section. Let me know if you can see my slide.
Yes, we can now, sir.
Okay, so great. Okay, so let me start by asking everyone, how's the bootcamp been so far? Just put a thumbs up if it has been great for you, if it has been awesome, if it has been overwhelming, if there's a lot to learn and you are just tired. Okay, so just put your reactions on how it is for you, basically, because we started from a very long journey. We started from Excel, then we moved to Power BI, then from Power BI, we moved to SQL. Now we are looking at Microsoft Fabric, right? Which is like the Oga Patapata of them all. Okay, so basically, I'm going to give you an introduction to what Fabric is, how Fabric is actually important tools that you also need to learn as a data analyst, and then how you can start getting started with Fabric, basically. Okay. So today we've talked about ground rules. So I'm going to talk about that. Esther has also done some awesome introductions about me, so I'm going to move on that. Now, let's talk about the agenda of what we'll be doing today. So today, basically, we'll be talking about introductions to Microsoft Fabrics. We'll be looking at the simple Power BI architecture. Then we'll be looking at moving to Microsoft Fabric architectures. Then we'll also be talking about what makes Fabric difference. Then we'll be looking at the 6 key experience for end-to-end analytics in Microsoft Fabric. That's what we'll be talking about today. So basically, let's start from Power BI, or let me even say what we usually call ourselves most of the time, if you know how to use Power BI very well. Most of the time, you can do ETL with your Power Query, you can do visualizations with your Power BI, you can write some DAX, you can create some amazing reports, you can build up some great projects. So sometimes we usually call ourselves a Power BI developer because you can actually develop some stuff, right? But what Microsoft is doing and the way the world is actually moving now is we are actually moving from being a Power BI developer, which is basically a data analyst, into a Fabric developer, right? A Fabric developer. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of these terms before, analytic engineer. Has anybody heard any term called analytics engineer? You know, when you have a data analyst, you have a data engineer, and then you're looking for a way to combine the two. So have anybody heard of this word called analytics engineer before? Just type yes or no in chat. Analytics engineer. Okay, so I can see yes, yes, yes. I can see yes, a lot of yes. Okay, great. So analytics engineer is the same thing as Fabric developer. Honestly, somebody's an analytics engineer. So it is somebody that actually has the knowledge to combine both data analytics, data engineering, and a few of data scientists together, and then kind of master both of them and all of them, and actually be able to provide solutions based on all those 3 keys area. Now, for Fabric, it is a tool developed by Microsoft to actually help all of these things that I've mentioned work together in one place. Data engineer work in a place, data scientists work together in a place, data analytics work together in a place, and they're all using one platform. Now, if you look at Power BI architecture, what we usually do most of the time, and the project that you guys are currently working on in your team now, on your group, I'm sure you guys are working on a project that you're going to be submitting in 2 or 3 years. Now, if you look at the architecture of the project, basically, what you are doing in the project is you have data source, and that data source, there are 2 ways you can get that data source into your Power BI service. You can either connect that data source to a data flow directly from your Power BI service, right? Most organizations do this. So they just connect data flow to their data sources and they plug that into their Power BI desktop. So they connect data flow to Power BI desktop, not Power BI desktop directly to the data source, right? Some organization does this a lot to reduce the workload on Power BI desktop. Now, you can also kind of connect your Power BI desktop to a data source directly, which is basically what most of us are doing right now. So you got a data from Atlanta Police Department, you got a data from Wikipedia, you got a data from World Bank, you got a data from here, you got a data from different places. It can be different data sources, right? And you're connecting that directly into your Power BI desktop. Once you connect it to your Power BI desktop, you build your data model, you create all the relationships in your data model. You also write all the interesting calculations and DAX that you need to write. Then after you finish writing that, you create an amazing visualization in Power BI desktop. Then you publish that to Power BI Workspace, which is your Power BI services, right? So you create a workspace or use your default workspace and you publish that report into your workspace. Now, in a workspace, what we usually have before the commencement of Fabrics is we have report, we have semantic model, and we have data flow. Report is basically the report you publish. Semantic model is the same thing as the data set, which is the data set behind that report, that your Power BI desktop report. That's the semantic model. And we also have a data flow, which you can actually create yourself, like something like this, where you connect your data source to the data flow, and we have that in Power BI Workspace as well. Now, from a Power BI Workspace, you can now decide to share your report anyhow you want. So this is the typical Power BI-centric architecture before the existence of Microsoft Fabric. Now that Microsoft Fabric has now come into play or come into existence, then the architecture is now a bit different. Now you can see that we have moving to Fabric-centric architecture. Now, moving to Fabric-centric architecture, the way you would do reports is a little bit different, especially when you are dealing with a very large and big data, a lot of big data. In fact, for some of us that has experience, or probably you've been working where you have before, how many of us have worked with the data of something's around, let me say, 100 million upward? Just type yes or no in chat. How many of us have worked on 100 million data upward with Power BI before? Anyone? Just type yes or no in chat. 100 million rows of data. 100 million rows of data. How many of us have worked with that before? A million upward. It can be 200 million. It can be 1 billion with Power BI. It can be 2 billion with Power BI. How many of us have done that before? Okay, so Abdulaziz said yes. Okay, I'm going to allow Abdulaziz to kind of share his experience because I want to make this as interactive as possible. So Abdulaziz, I'm going to ask you, working with 100 million rows of data in Power BI, how are you be able to manage your Power BI desktop? What are the things you put in place to be able to make sure that when you open your Power BI desktop, it doesn't crash too much of time? How do you manage this data set, basically? I'm just going to ask you, maybe in 2 minutes, if you can just share your experience. Is it different from the normal way we work with Power BI, or is it something that it's require a lot of work? So Abdulaziz, I'm going to allow you to unmute your mic. So let me see if I can do that. Abdulaziz Moshood.
Abdulaziz, you can have the floor now. I've done that.
Okay, thank you, my moderator. Please go ahead, Abdulaziz. You have muted again if you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, okay. Yes, I've just been able to mute. Thank you very much. Yeah, so regarding this particular data loading into the Power BI, I was able to do that sometime last year when we had the project because I work with telecoms. So,
Okay.
and what happened is that I had to reach out to the IT department. So what they just had to do was to give me some details that I can use to connect to the SQL database. So I was loading from an SQL database, and when it was taking a whole lot of time, so the guy actually walked me through and told me I can actually look up how to use an XMLA endpoint in order to optimize the data, so it won't actually take much of the time. So that was so I was using the XML endpoints. That was when I had to download some external tools into the Power BI, so I could actually figure out where the problem is actually coming from. So we have Tabular Editor and DAX Editor, stuff like that. So it was what I used to speed or optimize the data loading, though it does reduce the data time from maybe something around, we are talking about from 1 hour to about 40 minutes, 35 minutes, thereabouts. So
yeah,
that was actually my experience. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Abdulaziz. Do you thought of creating the partitions on that on the data set in your Power BI desktop using the SQL Server Management Studio with the XML endpoint, like you said? Do you create any permission or incremental refresh?
So it was actually an incremental refresh, so that I don't need to load everything all at a time. Only what I need to make to change this now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Abdulaziz. That was a very good one. Now, the reason why I asked Abdulaziz that is because when it comes to handling big data in Power BI, right, especially data above 100 million, 200 million. In fact, I can remember that was the data I was working with last week. The data is about 700 million rows in Power BI, right? Now, when it comes to managing big data like that, you need a lot of tools to be able to do that. Not just Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop is good, but you also need some tools like 6-7 Management Studio, so that when you create an incremental refresh from your Power BI desktop, you use tabular model to apply your refresh policy so that you can create all the partitions. Then you use SSMS to kind of refresh each of those partitions one by one. You use your Dash Studio to kind of do some activities on the data set as well. You also use some Vertipack engine to test which table or which row or which of these data set is loading a lot of CPU. You also use SQL Profiler to trace the refresh issue. So there's actually a lot when you are dealing with big data. It's not just the peripheral that we are looking at, right? So the peripheral we are looking at is we have a data below 100 million, let's say 50 million, 60 million. That's still okay. You can still do your normal Power BI. But when you start using the data of 100, 200 million, then visualization will no longer be your problem. Your major problem will now be performance, right? Now, this issue has been there. A lot of different professionals like myself, we have a way of dealing with it, although we are still dealing with it. In fact, the client I'm working with now does not even, they have not migrated to Fabric yet. We are still using the old way of Power BI, and they have a data that is more than 500 million rows. And we are still dealing with that data with Power BI Desktop. So now, moving to Fabric. Fabric is actually going to help you, let me say, minimize a lot of those risks and a lot of those, and also optimize the way you kind of work with big data. So the architecture in Fabric is quite simple. You have a data source, and all of this, your data source, is being loaded into Microsoft Fabrics, not Power BI Desktop, right? Not Power BI Desktop. That's why when you load your report into Power BI, so whether you load through import or you load through direct query, you still find out that the report is still slow at times, especially when the data is big, right? Now, but this architecture is saying that you can load the data to Microsoft Fabric because Microsoft Fabric has a lot of resources inside them, just like the way we have SQL Server, which is like a database where you store stuff. Microsoft Fabric also serves as a database. So you store that data in package format, in file format that are very, very fast, super, super fast, right? So it stores those data source into Microsoft Fabric, and then you load Microsoft Fabric data source into your Power BI desktop, right? So you're not connecting. So look at the gap there. The gap is, in the previous architecture I showed you, you connect your data source directly to your Power BI desktop, or you can go via data flow. But now we are connecting our data source to Microsoft Fabric, right? There is now something inside, something in between, right? So you're connecting to your Microsoft Fabric. Now you're just connecting that data set into Power BI Desktop alone, right? Into Power BI Desktop. And when you are connecting that to Power BI Desktop, you are not using import or direct mode. You are using a composite mode, something that is even very faster, something like what we call see-through mode. I'm going to explain what see-through mode means later. So it will be very, very fast. Now, once you load the data set directly into Power BI Desktop, then you publish to Power BI Workspace. Now, if you look at my Power BI Workspace critically, you will notice that we have more things than when I was showing you the Microsoft Fabric architecture. Can somebody tell me in the chat, what did you notice? From my Power BI Workspace, differently from the Power BI architectures that I showed you before, what did you notice now? Is there anything you noticed? Just let me know. Put it in the chat. Anything you noticed? Put it in the chat. Anyone notice anything? Okay,
Yeah.
so I can see people giving different comments. KQL database, sample model, lakehouse. We have notebook in this one. We have pipelines in this one. We have experimenter in this one. We have model in this one. We have CustoDB, right? We don't just have the workload of Power BI. So the Power BI, if you look at the previous architecture that I showed, the Power BI architecture only has these three: reports, semantic model, and data flow. But now Fabric has more than that. Fabric has experiment, KQL, Custo, Lakehouse, model, notebook, pipeline, reports, and even more, right? And even more. So that is telling you that Microsoft Fabric has a lot of workload. which now make data solution very easy in one place. Data solution very easy in one place. Now, what is the benefit of these architectures, right? One of the benefits of this architecture is unified analytics, right? And what I mean by unified analytics is everybody is working together in one place. Nobody is working in different places. I'm a data engineer, a data scientist, a data analytics, an analytic engineer. Everybody's working in one platform. So there's a unified analytics. So whether you're a data engineer or a data scientist, you guys are working on this workload in the middle, right? Unlike before, where you have Databricks separately, we have SQL separately, we have Salesforce separately, we have Snowflakes separately. Then you now bring that, connect that to Power BI, you do all that. So different analytics tools, you now bring all of them together. But right now, you are managing everything on one platform. And that is why it is called unified analytics. And that's where the future is going to. So if you have not started looking at Microsoft Fabric, I didn't say you should jump into it now. If you're a beginner, at least master what you know before, which is all those Power BI, your Excel, your SQL. Once you are good with that, you provide solutions, 2 or 3 solutions of that, then you can say, okay, let me step forward. Let me start learning more things. This is what I want to start going into, right? But if you are just a beginner, don't rush yourself into it now. But it's good you have some basic understanding about this, because even when you go for interview and all that, they may ask you questions about this. Now, data governance is also kind of easy because you are managing everything in one place. So to govern your data sets in terms of access, in terms of documentation, it's easy. Wale won't need an access to a data set and also a report. Immediately you give Wale an access here. Wale already have access to everything. So you're managing access in one place. It's not as if you are giving Wale access in SQL, then you come to Power BI, you give Wale access in Power BI, you go to Salesforce, you give Wale access in Salesforce. Data governance is easy to manage. Then data quality, because you're building a robust system. So data quality will be easier, right? All your data will make sense, and then a robust system kind of work for you. So data science and AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything in one place. We also have the AI power Copilot integrations and the large language models. So LLM. Now, remember when ChatGPT came out, everybody was very happy that ChatGPT is okay. Now Microsoft take over ChatGPT and then they created their own version of it called Copilot, right? Now Copilot is being embedded into Microsoft Fabric, which means that you can actually use Copilot to create anything. Okay, so I want to do some things as a data engineer, but I don't really know how to write a KQL code, right? You can just use Copilot and just type it in English, simple English. Copilot will do it for you. I want to write this SQL code. Copilot will write this SQL code for you. So that is AI powered. It's a lot of AI inside of it. So you don't need to kind of know how to be able to participate in this. Now, analytics system that Microsoft is trying to build is very robust. And what makes this fabric different, right? So Microsoft has all the products with the right scale needed to build a complete analytics system. Right? I'm going to explain each of these 6 analytics in details, right? But what are the advantages and benefits? Now, one advantage that I think this has, when I was actually testing it out as well, and also working with the client on this, number one is one lake. One lake simply means that there's no data silos. So you have only one lake. Everybody is storing their data in one lake. So there's a storage called one lake. So people are putting their data in one lake. It's just like, it's as easy as when you're using your, what's it called? OneDrive. It's as easy as when you're using your OneDrive, right? You just save your data set and your data set gets saved on OneDrive. That's how as easy as one lake is. We also have data copies. This is one of the most interesting things I think I like about Fabric, because you don't need to create redundancies of data. You don't need to create duplicated of data. Imagine somebody in finance says, I need an information on employee data. I need people data. So what most organizations will do is, okay, so let's send you a copy of our employee data, or let's give you access to a copy of our employee data. No, from right there in Fabrics, you can just create a shortcut to the HR workload or HR one lake. Then that shortcut, you connect to that data from the shortcut. You are not duplicating anything. When HR updated that, it's also updated on yours. So one copy means that no duplicate. Everybody is working on the same file, right, with shortcut. There's also one open format, which is the package format, which is making a lot of sense in terms of optimization. One user experience as well. Everybody's working on one platform, so you only need one platform to do your data engineering activities. You only need one platform to do your data science activities. You need one platform to do your data analytic activities. So there's one user experience. Everybody's using the same platform. Access control is quite easy. Monitoring is also easy. And one beautiful thing I like about this is licensing structure. Just one licensing structure. I am not going to pay for Databricks, pay for Snowflakes, pay for Power BI, pay for this, pay for that. With Microsoft Fabric, I can pay for just one license and I have everything. Now, these experiences that Microsoft Fabric has consist of 7 key experiences for end-to-end analytics, right? It consists 7 key experiences. So the first one is data integration, which is like the data fabric, data factory. So your data factory is like an integration tool in Fabric. So it consists of your data pipeline. It consists of your what's it called? Data flow. It also consists of your data flow. That's what I want to remember. It consists of your pipeline, your data flow, and all the different ways of you integrating your data into Microsoft Fabric. That's your data factory, right? Then we also have the data engineering experience, which allows you to do some kind of medallion architecture, cleaning your data, make sure that the data is well structured. That's also data engineering, which leverage on Synapse. We also have data warehouse, we have data science, we have real-time analytics, we have business intelligence, and then we have the data activator. Now I'm going to go into details of explaining these 7 one by one, right? So that you kind of understand what it means. So let's start with data factory, which is the data integration part. So the data integrations, the purpose of this workload or this experience in Fabric is used for moving and transforming data. So it's just a set of tools that help you extract, transform, and load your data, just like what you're using Power Query for right now. So for those, some of us are using Power Query. So just like what you're using Power Query for right now, that is what the data integration is for. So some tools in Fabric that allows you to do this is data flow and also a data pipeline. So you can see data flow and data pipeline. You can see we have data flow Gen 2 and we also have data pipeline. So these tools allow you to kind of do some data integration in Fabric. Now for data flow Gen 2, it's something you're already familiar with. It's just your Power Query on the web. That's just it. You don't need to learn anything new. It's just the same Power Query that you already know, but now this Power Query is now on the web. I'll show you a demo a little bit later. Now, these tools are similar to some of the tools that already existed before. The tools like Azure Data Factory. If you have used Azure Data Factory before, I'm sure you should be aware of data pipeline and the data flow Gen 2. Synapse pipeline as well, it's the same thing. And also Power BI data flow, just like I said, Power BI data flow, and also Power Query. So these are the similar tools to this workload. Then the main personnel of people that usually work with this, they are the data engineer, a data analyst also do some data flow, but not pipeline. And then we have analytics engineer, which kind of do the two. Then we also have a Power BI developer, right? So these are basically main personnel of people that work with this particular experience in Fabric. We also have another one, which is data engineering. So data engineering enables users to design, build, and maintain infrastructures and systems that enable the organizations to collect, store, process, and analyze large volume of data. And some of the tools in Fabrics that we have for this is Lakehouse, Notebook, and Spark Job Definition. So Lakehouse is just like a storage where you store all of your data sources. You can see that as similar to something like SQL Server. So Lakehouse allows you to store your data set, and then you can use SQL endpoint to kind of query this data. You can use SQL as well to query the data. Then you have Notebook. You can write all your notebook, all your codes in your notebook, and you still run this notebook successfully. Then we have Spark Job as well. Some tools that are similar to this is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. You are familiar with that. Databricks as well, and also Snowflakes, right? So those are similar tools to this particular workload in Microsoft Fabric. Now, the main personnel of people that really understand this is data engineer, and you now that you're trying to become an analytics engineer, right? So data engineer, this is strictly what you do, and then an analytic engineer as well. The third experience is the data warehouse, which provide a familiar transactional data warehouse solutions with tables, schema, view, and store procedure, right? So, e.g., you are querying your structured database on T-SQL, SQL. Some Fabric tools that allows you to do this is called warehouse in Fabric, right? Warehouse. So similar to this is your SQL Server and your serverless pool and dedicated pool on Synapse, and also Snowflakes as well. So the main personnel of people that usually do this are data engineer, database administrator, and also a data analyst, right? So those are the people that kind of work on the data warehouse. Then we also have the data science, which support the entire data science workflow in an organization, from exploration to preparation, model training, scoring, serving, and also prediction. So Fabric tools that help you do this is basically 3. So we have notebook, we have experiments, and then we have machine learning models. So all these tools on Fabric can help you do all the data science activities. And some similar tools that we have to do is Azure Machine Learning, Synapse Notebook, and also Databricks Notebook. So main personnel is the data scientists. So the main personnel of these are just data scientists, and we have this workload in Fabric. Then we have real-time analytics, right, which provide a set of tools to ingest, manage, and analyze real-time event data. Imagine what we mean by real-time is the data that is currently real-time, for example, of this weather. So you want to track the real-time weather changes. That's like real-time analytics, right? So some tools that allows you to do that is KQL and Event Stream. You can also use KQL query set to kind of stream your real-time data set. Similar tool to this that people currently use before is Azure Data Explorer. And the main personnel to this is data engineer and also an analytics engineer. And that's the real-time analytics. We also have another one, which is the one we are most familiar with. We are coming from the data analytics point of view, which is Power BI, basically for business intelligence, right? So create intelligence from your business, right? That's the one we are most familiar with. So some workloads that we have for that is report and semantic model. These are the workloads of Fabric tools for that. Similar to tools to that is Excel, Tableau, and then QLink. And then the major personnel for this one is data analyst, Power BI developer, analytic engineer, and even the business users. You know, sometimes business users also create their own self-service report. Okay, then the last but not the least is what we call data activator. Has anybody used something called Power Automate before in this call? Just type yes or no in chat. Something called Power Automate. Power Automate, right? Power Automate, which is part of the Power Platform. So Data Activator is similar to Power Automate, right? That allows you to automatically take actions like running the Power Automate flows. When the conditions is being detected, then you can either change the data or change the report or run a notebook or run an event stream or kickstart a pipeline. So that's just what Data Activator is. It's just like an automator, like a flow, something similar to Power Automate, right? In fact, business users can set a simple conditions with this. So they can say, when this happened, then I want you to delete this data. I want you to send an email to this person. I want you to do this. So just actions and trigger, actions and trigger, trigger and actions. So the tools we use this for in Microsoft Fabric is Reflex, right? It's called Reflex. And the similar tool is Power Automate and Azure Functions. Main personnel for this is data analyst, Power BI developer, and also the business users. Now, all of these things that I've mentioned made up a complete analytics solutions, made up a complete analytics solution. Now, before I go into the demo, right, I want you to kind of put in the chat, what do you think about Microsoft Fabric? Just put it in the chat. Is this something interesting to learn, or this will be very, very hard to learn? Just put something in the chat. Okay, so I can see scenes handful, to be honest. Sounds complex. Interesting, but hard. Interesting to learn. It is very interesting and make work easier. Interesting to learn. Make work easier. Look interesting to learn. Awesome package. Interesting and massive. Okay, it is very, interesting to learn, but it's quite complex. Okay, now let me bust your bubble. Let me bust your bubble. For some of us that are saying it is hard, it is complex, that is what I thought too when Fabric came out. But when I started exploring it, and I noticed that Fabric is as simple as pressing your phone or pressing TikTok. There is no tool that is hard, right? You just need to devote your time and start learning these things. So I'm going to show you a bit of demo of how fabrics look like. So let me stop sharing my slide and also share a browser now. So please confirm in chat if you can still hear me. Okay, great. You guys can still hear me. All right. So now I'm sharing the browser. Right now. That's what I'm sharing, a browser. Now, one thing you should know is the first question is, how do we access Fabric? How do we access this Fabric? And this is why it is very interesting for us data analysts to kind of understand this thing, because Fabric is built on Power BI architecture. It is built on Power BI architecture. So the way you access Fabric is you go to powerbi.com, which is the same Power BI you've been going to, powerbi.com. That's how you access it. So you go to powerbi.com. You go to powerbi.com, and that is how you access Microsoft Fabric, right? And then once you are here, currently your Power BI desktop does not, your Power BI service may not have the Fabric activated. And I think you have to go to settings, and then from your settings, you go to admin portal, then you switch on the Microsoft Fabrics. You allow the Microsoft Fabrics to run on your Power BI. Now, once you are here, the first thing you're going to see here is still the same thing. The Power BI that you are very familiar with, right? But one thing that you need to be sure of is when you go to this button below here, look at this button down here. So there's a button down here called Power BI, button down here when I'm pointing at called Power BI. If I select that button, then I'm going to see all the 7 workloads that I explained for you guys. Remember those 7 workloads that I explained for you? You will see them here, then you will see Microsoft Fabrics at the top. So I can select that. So once I select that, then this is your Microsoft Fabric. All your data in one location, organize, collaborate, and create. Now, I've explained each of those workloads for you. I think in the easiest way that I can explain it. But when you start working with it, that is when you understand it the more. Now, the first question I'm going to ask you is, based on the explanation that I made, right? If I want to start a data solution right now, and I need to kind of get my data and store it somewhere, which of the experience do you think I'll start with? I'm starting a data solution, and then I want to get my data and just store it somewhere. So which of the 7 experience that I explained to you am I going to start with? Okay, you can see data factory, warehouse, data factory, warehouse, same as data warehouse, data factory plus integration. Okay, so it seems we have a lot of data factories, but let me bust your bubble, or let me rephrase my questions. I'm starting somewhere. Data factory is a process of doing ETL, right? Which is extract, transform, and load. But when I'm loading, before I even go and buy something, let me put it simple. I want to go and get the data. Before I go and get that data, or I want to go and get something, is it not one house that I'm going to put it? If I get the data, I'm going to put it somewhere, correct? I'm going to put that, whatever I'm getting, I'm going to put it somewhere. There need to be an house. Something needs to house it, right? So let me see who get this right, because nobody has get it right. Data warehouse, nope. Data lakehouse, maybe, but belongs to one of the 7 experience. So which of the 7 experience? Just pick. You can see the experiences on my screen. BI, no. Data engineering. Thank you, Abdulrahman. Now, somebody got it right. Now, the data engineering is one of the experience where you create a house. So before you even bring a data, anyhow, before your data is being brought, okay, let's think about SQL. Before you start using SSMS to query your data to do different things, you must first of all download SQL Server, correct? And what's the SQL Server? It is a storage. So before you kind of start bringing your data and everything, you need a house to house all this data. Before you start doing your data factory, you need a house. You need somewhere to house all this data. And that house is part of the data engineering experience, and it's called Lakehouse, right? Lakehouse. So basically, I'm going to select data engineering just for you to see, right? Now, from a data engineering perspective, there are so many things I can see. You can see welcome to Microsoft Fabric. You can see general basic data analytics, data analysis. You can SQL. In fact, we still have medallion architectures now. I think I'm going to explore this one, right? Okay, so basically, before you start anything, you need to create a workspace. That's the first thing to create. Let me even start with that. You need to create a workspace. Now, the workspace you usually have in Power BI before is either my workspace or maybe a workspace you created yourself. That's a workspace. So before you even start creating anything, you need a workspace. You need to create a workspace. And that workspace is part of your data engineering experience, right? It's sitting on data engineering experience. So you can now start putting different things inside the workspace. So what I'm going to do is I can either come here and then come to workspaces like this, or let me even go back to my data engineering. And I'm just going to select this. I can either come to workspaces and select new workspace from here, or I can also select new workspace from here, right? So different ways. So let me go to my my workspaces and select new workspace. And I'll just say mentorship, analytic extra mentorship mentorship workspace, right? That's our workspace. Now, in our workspace, we don't really need to put anything. I'll just click on advanced, nothing here as well. Then one thing you should be aware of is under the license mode. I'm currently using a trial. So if you are using a data set, a big data set, I always advise to use premium per user or premium capacity. And then when you are loading a large data set in here, it's always good to select a large semantic model, especially for those that are working with 100 million data rows above, right? So I'm going to click apply. So this thing I just did now, I just created the workspace. It's the same workspace that I usually create in Power BI. Nothing changed, right? And when I create a workspace, if I click on this new, you notice that I now have more things. Before, inside the workspace, you only have report, semantic model, and data flow. But now I have a lot of things. I have data flow, I have pipeline, I have event, whatever. I have a new experiment, I have KQL, I have Lakehouse, right? Now, I'm now going to create a Lakehouse, which is now a storage inside the house. It's like the workspace is like our house. Then inside our house, you now want to put a cupboard where we'll be putting all our clothes. That's Lakehouse. That's what the Lakehouse is. So Lakehouse is now the storage where we want to be storing things. So I'm going to click on Lakehouse, and I'm going to give it a name. So I can say mentorship name. Let me say our cupboard, so that you can understand. I'm just using terms that you can easily understand, right? Then I'll click create. So once I click create, this is loading, and then this is getting set up. Now I've created a cupboard inside my house. So this cupboard now, I can now be storing things in it, inside this cupboard, because this cupboard has a storage, and you can see that storage here. It has tables and file. I can either store things in terms of table. I can also store things in terms of file. What files means is I can store CSV, I can store Excel, I can store packet. Then I have table, which means I can store things inside the table. Let me even give you an example of files. From file, if you look at this, you will see add content to this file. I can click on get data right now and upload a file. Look at this. I'll just upload a file. So if I go to my system, let me see if I can see any CSV files to upload. I'm just going to say .csv, right? I'm looking for any CSV file. Yeah, I think I found one. Let me upload this pricing. Find one. Let me upload this pricing. Okay, so I just uploaded the file. Overwrite if file already exists. Yes. So I just uploaded the file, and the file is uploaded now. So those are two ways I can store things in my my storage can be, right? I can either put something in a file, or I can also put something in a table. Now, another question. Now, I have my storage, which is my cupboard, right? Now, I want to go and bring data from somewhere, not just uploading a file like what I did now. Maybe bringing a table from somewhere else, maybe from CSV, maybe from Azure Data Lake, maybe from SQL Server Management, maybe from SQL, maybe from different places. So which of the workload do you think I'm going to use to bring that data in? Anyone want to guess? Which of the workload do you mean I'm going to use? Data flow, which is under data factory. Thank you. So I can either use data flow or what? Somebody should type it. I can use two things. Use under data factory. Data flow or what? Nope. Non-notebook. Data pipeline. Thank you. So I can either use data flow or data pipeline. So those two falls under the data factory. So data flow or data pipeline. So I can use those two to bring data into my cupboard, right? Let's bring data into my cupboard. And the best way for me to do that is if I come here and I click on get data, right here, you will see two things. Look at this. These two things. So the first one is data pipeline, or the second one is data flow joint. So let's use data flow, which is like Power Query, the one you are familiar with, right? You can as well use data pipeline too, but let's use data flow. So I'm going to select new get data, and I'm going to select data flow, right? So from data flow, you are going to see a screen that you are familiar with, which is your Power Query, right? Your same Power Query. It is loading right now. So you see your same Power Query, and then voila, that's our data flow. And this is Power Query. Your same Power Query. You can see that. Very funny, very simple. It's the same thing. Now, I can say, okay, I want to get the data from an Excel, I want to get the data from SQL Server, to get the data from this, that, right? But let me just say I want to get the data from maybe test or CSV, so that I'm not stressing myself too much, right? And then I can put a link of that here since I'm doing online, or I can even do, let me just bring the data from my system so you see that. I think I brought in pricing the other time, so let me brought in reviews now. Reviews, and then this now is uploading this data inside my, I think, SharePoint or OneDrive or so. So wherever it's putting it, that's okay. I'm just using it for demo sake for you guys. Okay, but this looks like it's going to take a lot of time. Probably big. Okay, I think it's getting faster now. Now, let me just be keeping you interactive before this load finish. Now, we are trying to get a data inside our data flow, right? Which we can even start doing a lot of cleaning with. In fact, let me stop this. Let me bring in a small data. I think that data is too big. I'm going to bring in this listing, which is like just 1 megabyte. Okay, so I'm trying to get the data inside our data flow, basically. And this is this. Let me just do next. Once I do next, and then we're going to see the data right now. Okay, so now you can see this, just let me just say create, right? Okay, so now we have the data inside our Power Query, which is like our data flow online. So basically, the same thing you do on Power BI Desktop is just bring in the data, and that's the same thing here. I can do all the cleanup that I usually do. I can see that this one is showing a bit of error right now. Something is not right in here. So maybe I can convert this into a test instead. I can send and say this is test. This ID is test. Say replace current. That will get rid of some of the error. And then I'm also still kind of doing a lot of, I can just do some things here really. So I can say, okay, maybe I want to delete a column, calculated those things can't. So I just deleted this column. Your same Power Query exercise, right? Now, the additional steps you are just going to do to that is, what is the destination, right? And you can see that the destination of this is our lakehouse, right? See, our lakehouse, and that lakehouse is called cupboard. When you hover your mouse on it, you will see what it's called, cupboard, right? And that's the destination. So I'm going to publish this right now into my lakehouse. Okay, so immediately I publish this right now, you will see that it has already loaded my data flow here. So I have three things basically here. I have a lakehouse and I have a data flow, right? And then inside that my lakehouse, I have the semantic model and its SQL analytic endpoint. I'm going to show you what that means later. So let me go inside my lakehouse again. You know, remember I did something on pricing. I just uploaded a file. Now on table, if I expand table, I should have something on table right now. I should have something on table. So let me refresh this. Let me refresh this. And expand this. I'm going to refresh it again. And just expand table. Refresh one more time. Just taking time to refresh. Yeah, let me just refresh again so that I'm sure that the table has been loaded. Yeah, now the table is there. Now we can see the table right here called listing. When I select it, this listing that I brought in via our data flow. When I select it, you will see the table right here. You will see the table right here. And that table is loading right now. Now, another beautiful thing about this is that I can even go to file. This table is still loaded. I can also go to file. The same file I have here, I can load it as a table. When you put the three dots on it, from my file, I can load a file as a table. So let me just say new table, right? And that table is called pricing. Semantic model separator is a comma because it's actually a CSV file. So I'm loading this pricing as a table right now. And soon you are going to see the pricing under the table as well, just like I have listing. Just like I have listing here, which make a lot of sense. You will see these are all the columns inside the listing table. One another interesting thing, like I was telling you, is that from inside your lakehouse, see, pricing is also coming right now. Pricing is now coming right now. Now I have pricing. Now, from inside your lakehouse, you can also change the storage. Instead of using this easier view of your table, you can also use SQL endpoint to kind of query the data, just like the way we use SQL, right? So if I come to this lakehouse here, I can change this to SQL analytic endpoints. SQL analytic endpoint. Okay, so now my internet is loading. Let me change that again, SQL. So once I change that, it's going to now change this to SQL analytic endpoint for me, which means from my same table, I can now start using query. I can start using SQL query. So if I do new SQL query now, look at this. New SQL query. I can say select, look at this. Select star from listings, right? So let's start from listings. And when I run this query right now, look at it. Most specified table to select from. That's the name of the table now. Did I get it wrong? So let's start from listings. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now it's running the query. So I'm just doing select start from listing, and you can see that I now have the table. Let me do the same thing for pricing, but I think my listing is still loading, so that's why it's not showing any data. The data flow is still loading basically. So if I refresh the pricing. So let's start from pricing. It's actually loading it right now. But let me just see, just loading. So you can see that it's loading this right now. And these are the data. And I can start saying that, okay, so I want to even do a simple query. I want to even do a simple whatever. I want to select some few things. I want to create a view. So right here, I can even do a store procedure from here. Now, another thing you can also do that kind of makes sense from here. So let me just right click and refresh this listing table. I'm just going to go to analytic endpoints because my listing is not showing anything. So let me just refresh it. Yeah, that way it's showing some data. So I'm going to go back to my SQL analytic endpoint. I think the query is still loaded. So let me just leave that one like that. Now, another beautiful things you can do is under here you have home, you have home, and you have reported. So down here, I can create a new semantic model straight away from this place. Semantic model. I can create a new semantic model. I can create a model layout. So if I click a model layout now, you will see that from this my model layout, I can create data model right there from my fabric. I create a data model right here from here. So I have this my listing, and then this one are just running query table. So the table I need at this one, so which is the active ones, right? So, okay, so now I cannot just connect this to this listing ID to ID. Listing ID to ID, right? And then the relationships is being created. So many to one, I'm going to save this. Now here you can see that I have created my relationship from here, right? The relationship has been created. Now let's assume I need to create a report. Now I need to create a report. I can come here and say new report, right? And then I want to create a report based on these two data. I will say continue. Default data set reviewed operation encounter error. The operation is not whatever the data type of direct link relationship between foreign key chemical. Okay, so now I think I need to kind of change the data type on this data flow. So that is why the error is coming. So, okay, the data, this one, I need to, let me just go back to my workspaces. This place, this my data flow is actually causing some issues. So I'm going to go back there and then check that the data is fine. Okay, so I cannot actually cover a lot today. So today is just more of like an introduction. So I think this one is like number in the other one. So let me just leave it as number. And then I'm going to replace the, so let me just leave it as number and then publish this. Just going to publish this. Okay, so let's see what the error message is here. Okay, so there's a problem refreshing the data set, listing, right to clinical. Fast copy is not supported in any of the supported expression. Yeah, I think one of the column of the data that I brought in is just giving me a problem. But because of our time, it's okay. So if I go into my lakehouse, from my lakehouse, I can do a new semantic model or a new report for my SQL endpoint. So right here, if I do new report, so if I go to new reports right here, and then I just select continue, let me see if this listing is not bringing a problem again. Okay, it's just bringing a problem. Then I can do a semantic model. And inside my semantic model, I can add the tables that I need. Let's say I'm only creating reports on pricing. So listing it as issues. So let me say listing data set, right? That's a new semantic model. So once I click confirm on this, then I'm going to have a new semantic model, which I can base a report on. So you can see that I didn't even touch Power BI Desktop. I'm doing practically all the solutions on Power BI Service. And there's still more. I can write a notebook on this one. I can actually create a machine model on this data set as well, or on this query as well. Okay. Now, my semantic model has been created. So if I go to my new report, and then I click on manage semantic model, and I'm going to just select the the new semantic model that I have, which is just list pricing. I think listing is the one that is giving me a problem. Let me just refresh this. Okay, so because another flop is because I'm working online as well, so the internet may quite be slow sometimes when you're doing one or two things, but just be rest assured that this fabric is a lot. Like I said, is a lot. If you are just getting started, I'll advise you master Excel, Power BI, and your SQL first. Then if you feel that you want to go ahead you want to go upward in your career, then you can venture into Microsoft Fabric and then start learning that small. So let's try and bring in pricing. I just want to show you the endpoint of where I can create, I can also create view as well. I just want to show you the endpoint of where I can also create a report, everything right here in your Microsoft Fabric. And I can use Copilot to even create some reports. So, but my internet is loading right now. So due to my time, I think I'm going to stop here and allow you guys to ask questions while my semantic model is loading. So if you have any questions, kindly raise your hand and then Esther will allow you to unmute your mic. Okay, so Esther, are you here?
Yes, sir. I have two people
Yeah.
raising their hand. Sorry, I was trying to talk. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to allow. I should allow them one after the other, right?
Yes, yeah, we can allow two of them at the same time. So whoever speak first.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Man.
Good
Yes.
afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for this amazing session. So I would like to go straight to the point. So at what point, based on what you have done today, at what point do we use data warehouse? Because I think you have done, you have used SQL, done semantic model, you have connected the models, the tables into models. I mean, you have turned the tables to models. So I'm surprised that those are the things that are usually done in data warehouse, and everything you did today was directly from data lakehouse. So I just want to know at what point. I mean, so that's my question, sir.
Yeah, so basically I've touched practically almost everything. I'm not sure if you are if you are following. I'm not saying that I'm only doing data engineering part. I've touched most of it. Immediately I switch to SQL Analytic endpoint, I'm already in the data warehouse experience. Do you understand?
Okay, sir.
So it's like I'm switching from one place to another. So let me show you something. I'm trying to fix this table, this nonsense table that I brought in that's showing a issue. So let me just publish this and just show you something. Yeah, so if I go back to my lakehouse and I switch back to SQL Analytic endpoint, so right here, you can see that I'm already in like a warehouse experience. Can you see this? So now
Yeah.
I can now arrange my data and put it into a well structure. And that is what data warehouse is basically just all about. So I can now put my data in the well structure, but by me being here, I'm already in the warehouse experience. I'm not sure if you get that.
I understand.
So all of them work together.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, any other question?
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, ma. I don't like why you guys like to say sir.
Okay, sorry. So, my question is like, as you said, that it's built on Power BI architecture. So, how these two are differentiate? Like, what is the need to use Fabric if it's already like
Okay.
Power BI.
Okay, so the need is this. I think I tried to explain it in the beginning, but I'll just summarize it for you, right? When you are working with a very big data in Power BI, it's not always easy because there are so many external tools that you need to connect with Power BI to make it work. That's one reason. The other reason is unified platform and unified analytics. So an organization does not need to necessarily have different platforms from different things. Like, for example, SQL Server, Snowflakes. So organizations can do everything they want to do in one platform. You know, what we use Power BI to do before is just to connect to external data, wherever that data is stored. But right now, you can do everything on Fabrics. And now, Power BI cannot do some data science activities. So if you want to do some data science activities, then your organizations also buy some Azure Data Explorer and also do some things on Azure. But now you can do everything right there in Power BI without going to different platforms. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I haven't seen this Microsoft Fabric in the, like job requirement as a tool.
Yeah,
Because
that's
maybe
because
it's
it's new. Yeah, it's
Okay.
new. So it came out last 2 years, or it started gaining ground last year. So basically, most organizations have not been adopting it yet. But in future, let me say in like a year or two now, a lot of organizations will start adopting it. And by the time they start adopting it, it actually makes sense for you to have a little experience about it so that you will be one of the people that will get the job faster in that line. I hope you get that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Delvis, your hand is raised. Delvis Emeka.
Okay, good afternoon. Please confirm if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, you are.
Good afternoon, Mr. Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Thank you for the session. Even though I had some network interruptions at some point. So let me go straight to the point. I have about 3 questions. I don't know if you have time for them. The first, I said now that in about 2 or 3 years we will have organizations, many organizations adopting Microsoft Fabric. So as an individual developer who want to gain knowledge and experience in Microsoft Fabric, but it doesn't belong to any presently, or even if you are working with organization that have not adopted Fabric. So I'm asking how
I think Davis keep going off. So I could not hear him. If anybody can hear me, please let us know. So one thing I also want to share with you is the practice exercise. So I'm going to share a link in the chat now. So this link will allows you to practice Fabric and learn how to actually use this with a real life scenario. So if I go to the browser right now and paste this link here, so this link here, so you will see that this is actually like a workshop on Microsoft Fabric, which is Serengeti data. So you kind of work on this data. So you load the data with data pipeline into your lakehouse, you create a report, you also do some things in Notebook, you also bring in some more structured data. So you kind of do a lot of work. So this link I'm sharing with you will help you to kind of practice and learn Microsoft Fabric. So you understand how to create a lakehouse, how to do a lot of things that I did today. So you understand how to do some interesting things, even way more than what I showed in class. So I'm going to share the link of that to the chat
Can you
right
hear
now.
me, please?
No, we can't hear you. Keep going off. So you keep going off. We can't hear you. You can put your question as a test in chat. So maybe we can take it from there. Just type it out. So I'm also showing you another demo, another sales demo that you can practice with Fabric. So this one as well. This one is even easier and straightforward. So this one is easy and straightforward. So you can use this to practice as well. So this is also a sales demo practice to platform. This is from Microsoft itself. So I'm putting this in chat. So these are the resources you can use to practice Fabric. Okay, so is there any other question for me before I hand over to Esther? Okay, so if there's no new question for me, over to you, Esther.
All right, sir. Sorry, I was trying to get the attendance. All right, a very big thank you to you, sir, and a very big thank you to everyone that has joined and since the beginning of this session. And I do hope it's been a very good ride for us all. All right. Can we all appreciate Mr. Dewale? Can we all say thank you? Can I see your emojis? Say thank you to him. Say thank you to him. Thank you, sir, for imparting us with knowledge. Thank you for your selfless service. And thank you for all that you do for humanity. It can only be somebody that is actually very interested in impacting people that can do this. Because you can see that it's not about money now. It's just what you have decided to do to give back to the people. And we say a very big thank you to you, sir. Like I said at the beginning of the session, I trust that we all will take whatever we learn from this mentorship program and we get to use them, especially in real life situations and then when we are faced with, situations that require our skills, that require our knowledge. Okay, I will also send the link to the quiz. We have a quiz for everyone. Thank you. Okay, I can see everyone is saying thank you, Mr. Adewale. Thank you, sir. Thank you, boss. Thank you, Oga Pata Pata. All right, I'm sending a link in the chat now. It's linked to the quiz. Everyone in attendance is required to take the quiz, and I'll also send the link. That's for evaluation. Everyone is required to please click on the link and let's get your feedback, please. All right, the link for the quizzes has been sent. So we all can, I'll also share it in our group page on WhatsApp so that everyone can have access to it. Also, there's, okay, Musarat is raising her hand. Musarat, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Yusuf, Adiwali Yusuf, that do we still have the opportunity to connect with you after this mentorship ends?
All right, Mr.
Yeah,
Adewale?
sure. So, yeah, sure. We've built a community already, and I hope we'll continue making that community hold. It's not just about the training alone. That group that we have right now, whatever group you have, just know that you've built a community already, community of friends. So we are always there. We can always chat and interact in case anybody gets stuck or anything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Musarat. Olusegun, your hand is raised. Do you have anything to say? Olusegun.
Yes, good afternoon. Please, I just want to ask Mr. Adewale, I have a free voucher to write DP 600, which is Fabric Analytics Engineer. So I want to ask if there any study material you can recommend for me to prepare for it. Thanks.
I think you can use the Microsoft Learn, and then also there are some dumb questions that people usually put online that you can use to practice and just get familiar with how the question is being set. Let me see if I have the dumb questions available somewhere, then I can share. Yeah, I can share on the group, but yeah, that's it basically. You can remind me as well on the group.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
Olusegun, you can also remind him. All right, I've sent the link for the session evaluation, and I've also sent the link to the quiz for each and every one of us. Kindly attempt the quiz. I want to implore us all to attempt the quiz. Does anyone else have anything to say? I think Musarat, your hand is still raised.
No, I don't have any question for now. Thank you.
All right. Delvis, your hand is raised. Delvis, I think his network is very wrong. Delvis, I don't know if you can hear me. Probably you should drop your question in the chat, or you get to ask later in the group and then it will be attended to. I'm just trying to give Delvis just a minute to see whether I would be able to drop his question in the chat. Delvis, are you here? All right. Since we are not getting any reply from Delvis, probably he's not here again. I want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Adewale and every other person on this call this evening. And I do trust that we have a swell time. I guess we can call it a day for today. And okay, Delvis said, is there licensing for individuals? Mr. Adewale? Hello, sir. Okay. Mr. Adewale said trial license is available. All right, I sent the link for assessment already. I'll send it again here and I'll send it on the WhatsApp group. Also, I'll send the link for the Can you hear me? All right, I think we can begin to leave the call. We can call it a day. Thank you everybody for joining. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m. and